Hello and welcome everyone to the Friday, February 3rd, 2023 edition of the Contributor Comms team meeting. As usual, a reminder that we do have a code of conduct that we operate under. It basically says to be respectful of your fellow participants and speakers and generally be excellent to each other. And for today, I have shared our notes doc. If you have access to edit, please do add yourself in. If somebody wants to kind of play note taker and add anyone who isn't able to add themselves, I would appreciate it. I also haven't added myself. You are welcome to do that, whoever wants to. And before we get started today, I think there are a number of newer folks on the call. We try to remember to offer an opportunity at the beginning of the session for anyone who's new to say hello, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're looking to get out of being here today. Totally optional. If you would like to unmute and say hello, you're welcome to do that. You're also welcome to use the chat. Anyone would like to say hello? All righty. Then if you'd like to say hello later on, you are welcome to jump in at any time. All right, let's start off with updates and big wins. And there is one major update in the Slack. Thank goodness I checked that as I was getting things set up here. Bob let us know that I haven't seen this yet. I'm sure that some of the folks on here have, but apparently Twitter is looking to start charging for API access, which means that our GitHub action thing, our connection between our GitHub repo to Twitter will stop working unless we start paying for it. Granted, it's not like we use that very much anyway. Mm-hmm. We have been kind of starting to look into Mastodon, but one of the things in the early discussions on that was like, which server do you get on, of course. So we were kind of waiting to see if the CNCF would maybe create one for their projects. And I haven't updated, I haven't gotten an update on the status on that. So I'll try to check in on that. Anybody else want to say anything about the Twitter thing?
So the buffer is no problem with the buffer, right? We can keep using them. So since we use directly the API, using GitHub Actions might cause problem via Twitter together. So okay.
Right, I think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look into it as this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah. I think
granted, Twitter together had so many issues anyway, but
yeah. I saw in Twitter dev, so they have starting next week. It's a short notice they give to monetize this. So let's see.
Shocking. Buffer should okay. We'll have to keep an eye on this and look into it more. All right. That's interesting. Any other updates or big wins that folks want to talk about?
I can say something. So SIG Spotlight on instrumentation, SIG instrumentation is merged and it's live today. So both on dev and also on the main K. So both places got merged.
That's amazing.
So thanks,
Federico. I feel like I've been under a rock.
Who gave me some feedback, so it was nice. So I actually like the blogging part, so maybe I'll look up for the next one.
Because Federico is a champ.
We have a list there, so
yeah, I saw. So yeah, I just posted so I look. I mean, it's really nice process. I like the way.
And actually, we should. And with the more we use it, the more we can refine it, because there are things that certainly are not completely adjusted. So it's a loop of improvement. So your feedback on the on missing information, etc., is also welcome. I think that we have most of the things in the blogging guidelines, but maybe there are things which are contextual and they're missing.
Exactly. So maybe we can also discuss that. So there are some subtle things like the canonical URL and also adding the authors, which is a little bit different to the KHDev and KSI. So this was kind of it's
but that but the reason why I think that I that's not there is because it's needed. But in general, there will always be quite a few suggestions in terms of the revision. I never saw a blog article just it's done. In general, you will have the kind of feedback that you had, and it's not limited to metadata. Generally, it goes to the text. So amidst everything else, I think that's something that's not a major problem. But you're right. Maybe even linking to I was thinking that linking to previous examples, to the Markdown file of previous examples, probably even better, because people then will just copy paste, and we don't have to explain that the metadata is like this or that.
Yeah, so I think the guideline really helped me. So it was kind of like, it was fast. I mean, little bit got delayed because I took some time to work on my comments, but it was relatively fast. So it was, I think we improved, I would say. So yeah.
Impressive, a rarity. Awesome. So for anyone newer on the call, this is a constant project. So our charter,
it out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the challenge, right?
Yeah, delivery hero indeed.
Mm-hmm. Our charter as a group is to help with communications, both internally within the contributor community and externally facing, making sure that the user community and the external community kind of understand some of the awesome work that contributors do. So we always have this project of creating SIG Spotlight blogs, where a member of our group interviews the SIG chairs and then writes a blog post, as you can see in this wonderful example. Oh, by the way, we need to update the, we actually have a list of the SIG spotlights of the past in our repo now, so we probably need to update that.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually, I looked out just before the meeting. I was just looking where it is actually posted. So I want to check that. I have to, Mofi created that one. So I want to update there as well. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to look where it is actually. That's the thing, but I'll update them. So I want to, since it's merged, so it really makes sense to update them.
Yeah, I think it's in the storytelling resources. That's going to be my guess. Need to like update our structure in this document, because I always look for the link to our main repo in here and then I can never find it. So need to do something about that at some point. Anyway, awesome. I'm so excited about that. Congratulations. Yes, question.
Yes, question. Is there like a if there were to be like a podcast of like someone interviewing like the major contributors and talking to them about like what it is that they do and why it's important, is that like, does that fall within the purview of this team?
It could, I think.
Okay.
We've never had something like that in the past. I don't know any reason that we wouldn't.
I think the closest was perhaps in terms of some spotlight. I remember that I think it was Ray or someone, if I'm not mistaken, did make something. The interview, instead of being just a blog article, was actually a YouTube video, right? So not exactly the same thing, but
Bart did some of that. It sounds
something-
more to me like Meet Our Contributors, which Paris ran. I don't think she's doing that anymore, but
perhaps you're right.
Is that something that because I know that like people, like I'm a huge podcast person, like I love like anything technical, especially if it's something that like I'm somewhat familiar with and I don't need to like stare at a screen in order to like understand like what's happening technically. I don't know, maybe we could start that, and I would like to lead that if we have some people who have already kind of done something like that. if anyone knows of anyone like that, I would like to kind of just get in contact with them and just see like what their process is and you know what their success rate is, because I think it's a good way to get people involved, is to see their faces as well as see their hear their voices.
I'd suggest that you reach out to Paris. Paris
Okay.
around these days. Has anyone talked to her recently? Paris Pittman.
Paris Pittman.
Yeah.
All
Also, I am a co-host of the Kubernetes podcast from Google. It's Google owned, but it's also not specifically Kubernetes contributor focused. It's kind of really more cloud native ecosystem. It's mostly Kubernetes, but not only Kubernetes. So
Okay.
I do something similar in a work capacity, but not in a community capacity. So
Okay. So I could definitely pick your brain as far as
as much as I know about it.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
took
have
it
way
over
more
in
experience than me.
November. So
Oh, okay. Well, again, still you have you have 60 days of experience over me.
yeah. And I took it over from Craig Box, if you've ever
That sounds familiar.
encountered stuff about him. Yeah. I bet you probably have seen some of his work around. He was really wonderful at running it, but moved on. And so
Okay.
I
All right.
know
I
the
will
folks who took that
also
over.
bother you then, Caslin.
Perfect.
Awesome.
And Cass. Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool idea. We can start floating the idea around, and if you want to pursue it, we do have the opportunity to request some funding from the CNCF for projects that require it.
Okay.
So if we want to get deep into it, there is potential to help fund it.
Alrighty.
And obviously that could link into the blogging as well, because it would be an avenue of sharing it as well.
Content.
Please watch
Exactly.
this content there. Not a transcription, but making people aware, right?
Right.
Even
Like
because the
promotional.
blog is also broadcast. Exactly. The blog is also broadcasted in other channels, so it would link there.
Yes. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
It's coming
Makes a lot of
together
sense to me.
already.
Yeah. So I think if we want to pursue that, we can explore the idea over a few meetings here. We can talk about it offline, because I will try to remember that our Slack channel exists this time.
Yeah,
Apparently I've been ignoring that for a bit.
That's been my problem too. But I have a job
Are you
now.
familiar with our Slack channel?
Yes, I'm already in it. I just
In the
my
SIG
job uses
ContribEx
Slack,
comms.
so I'm always in that workspace and never looking at
Yeah.
my open source stuff anymore. So
yeah. But you're in the SIG ContribEx comms channel already?
I am.
Okay, cool. Good. Well, yeah, we can talk about it asynchronously there, and let's bring that up in future meetings as well. I guess I'll add it to the bottom of the table. Granted, how often do we get to the bottom of the table before we stop for the day? I accidentally inserted that row above, but I think that's fine. I'll probably move this at some point. Contributor podcast ?
Also, talking is easier than writing. Writing's hard.
Can be, yes. For ideas like this, that is probably the case. Yeah, so reach out to me in Paris. We'll discuss more, and we'll discuss more on this meeting if you join next week.
Perfect. I forget, is this in the Kubernetes one or is this in the CNCF one?
We are within the Kubernetes SIG contributor experience.
Okay.
So we
Kubernetes
are within a
workspace.
Kubernetes calendar.
Okay, got it. Just want to make sure I'm adding the right ones so I don't have too much noise here.
Yeah. Sounds good. Love that idea. Thanks for bringing it up.
Welcome. I have a nice mic. I want to use it.
Likewise. I was just recording interviews for the podcast while I was at Cloud Native Security Con. By the way, I was at Cloud Native Security Con the last couple of days. I've been live tweeting stuff from that. So
yeah, I saw your tweets. Yeah.
Yay. Had a few folks reach out and be like, "Oh, I loved your tweets from it." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you." So excited that they help people. Another update that I'm going to go ahead and add here, even though it's in the table, because I probably need to get to work on this.
Mm.
is,
There
keep
is a
gonna
list
you
of past SIG spotlights, and also in the ongoing working project boards, they are also there in the done part. So actually, you can, if you go there and you click it, you get a direct link to the discussion of the spotlight, which is good.
You continued to use the existing articles board. Is that what you ended up doing? Or is it the other one
No,
that you
I
updated?
created a new one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's the projects changed quite a bit since the last time.
You should update the link.
Yeah, I can share the link right now, and you can.
Yeah.
Or I can do it. I don't know what it is. Let me say.
We should really update our
too many tabs.
We should really update our template that we use for notes, daily notes for this meeting. Because we used to.
I've been hearing a lot of rage about Notion lately. Like everyone's been promoting it to me, and I'm just like, what does it do? And I've looked at it. It's pretty cool.
Is it like a tracking board kind of tool?
It's like a note-taking app. It's weird because it's like, oh, great, another note-taking app / to-do list, but it's really powerful. It's more like the way it was described to me was a very flexible database with a good UI. So rather than thinking in things of like, oh, this is just, words on a page, you can like create really good like connections and stuff like that all over the place.
Interesting. We probably wouldn't switch to that for our regular notes since the rest of the SIG and everything uses docs, but interesting to know personally.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
We could change to org modes, Emacs. No, just kidding.
No.
Let's just write Markdown and commit it to GitHub.
I bet there's some group within Kubernetes that does that.
Oh yeah.
There's gotta be. I wonder where my cat went.
I use that at work for myself at least. It's good because of the revision process, but for this, I don't think it makes sense. It's more of an interactive kind of thing, right? At the same time, so it's fine.
What is it, Federico? The tool you said?
No, well, I mentioned two tools. One is org mode, which is using Emacs, which is also an editor in terms of notes, more related with Notion in that regard, but living inside Emacs for those that use Emacs, which also has Markdown-like syntax to it, and it has a lot of plugins, calendars, and stuff like that. So, but if you live inside Emacs, it's great. If you don't live inside Emacs, it could drive you to start, but it depends on your degree of lunacy, I would say. The other one is directly committing stuff to GitHub using Markdown. I found that it's actually useful when for seeing diffs and stuff like that. Who added what, when. It's actually very useful, but not so much when we need something interactive like we are doing here, right? All at the same time, editing. I think this is for meeting minutes. It's adequate.
Makes sense. The other thing I added to updates here was that I was thinking about KubeCon tweets, which I need to get to work on. I know the Contributor Summit folks are already working on tweets for that. So we probably need to get started. We usually do, we like pre-prepare tweets about the maintainer track. So should probably get started on those. And Federico has added the board. Would you like to walk us through your updates with the board, Federico?
Yep, I can, certainly. Give me 1 second just to be sure that I can share my screen.
I could also share it for you, and you could walk me through it if that's okay.
No, I'm done. No, yeah, I can do it.
I don't think you have permission to.
No. You can. Yeah, forget it. Yeah, so fun.
Which I could give you,
That's
but
no need. So I think that the only thing that I sort of shared this last time, but let me start by the easy stuff. So one good thing in this project boards thing approach is that the current version, the last version was more free form. So you ended up adding notes more than anything, which were unrelated with actual things that were happening in the repository. This one is much more tied with the issues and push requests, right? So
it was also tied to some things, but at the time we were using umbrella issues more. And so we had to track individual items through those separate notes. And then, the whole umbrella issues thing, we stopped using those. Anyway, as you were saying.
But I've heard that people that used the previous version are saying that this one is much more operational in a way. So
seems
if
like
you can, let me start by showing the two main views. So this is the Kanban view, in which we select one of the fields as a line, right, and a column, and we can move things around there. But I think it's interesting to if you go into the block PRs tab, drop down, table
view, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think this makes things even easier because a lot of the information that you have here is automatically pulled from the issue and pull request. So I have manually added the stuff that's been there for the last 6 months. Obviously, as we mentioned last time, there are ways to automate this by running a job that looks into labels, etc., which is what we're doing in the Kubernetes release team. So every time that you see that little merged icon there, this actually links. And if you click on, for example, that first one, SIG instrumentation, if you click on the actual,
something went wrong.
No. And you click on the actual, click on the name.
There it goes.
Actually, it should. So this is the most recent one. Okay, so you can see that the reviewers, the link, etc. One thing that I've found missing is that it doesn't really show the person who actually opened the push request, which is I found interesting. We'll have to.
It only shows the assignees
into that. Exactly.
Here.
Yeah. Exactly. So and then you have the status fields, which was added. So we can add whatever fields we want. Actually, we can add a owner or author column there, and which are like GitHub usernames, and manually say this is from Imram, this is from whomever. That information is kept as metadata here, but it isn't displayed. Necessarily present in the source PR. So just by changing things here doesn't mean that you will affect the actual PR. You can obviously also immediately select the columns that you want to be shown, the labels, etc. There you can add and select, and you can see that hidden fields. Select labels, for example. So these are the labels of the or source push request. So we can play with that a little bit, and then you have that status one, which is the one that it's a custom field with a series of fixed values, which when you click on when you shift to table view.
This is table view. So board view, you mean?
Sorry, board view. Yeah.
Corresponds with this.
It is and when you move things from one to the other, the status is updated on the list view. It's nothing major. Adding things is relatively straightforward. You just start typing in the table view. For example, you select a repository, which means that we can add stuff that is going into the contrib site repository, into the SIG repository, or into the Kubernetes website repository if needed, because we do have situations in which we don't have one single repository with everything. If we want to add tasks which are in our own repository, that one is different from the gates.dev site one, and we can add inside the Kubernetes organization, we can add whatever pull request or issue that we want. So you have these drafts there, which actually they only live. These ones are the ones that have no existence outside of the board, right? But you can convert to issue, okay? So if you want, you can edit it and then you can convert to issue, or not convert to issue and leave it like that. I've created these ones for the not yet started stuff that has come to mind. Obviously, as I mentioned last time, one possibility of going around the entire process is basing this on a more structured. We'll create an issue saying we want to do a SIG architecture spotlight. This is an issue, right? And then when it's done, there's a pull request with the article, which closes the issue. It's merged and automatically it gets done. Otherwise, we skip the issue entirely and just work with the notes there and the push request. So everything is fine. Also, in terms of the status, we can add stuff like, I don't know, ACMD file done, waiting for review. So depending on the scope that we want to give this, we can play with that a bit. I've just made 4, which for me are like the bare minimum, right? To do, in progress, ready for review, and done. And you can see the done one already there in terms of the SIG instrumentation, and also all the other ones that are there.
As the blogging lead, you have ownership to do with it as you will. One question for you. We have a CAP reading club?
We have. Yeah.
What does KEP stand
and
for?
And that's
sorry for the
Kubernetes enhancement
proposal.
Yeah,
Kubernetes
proposal.
enhancement
Yeah.
proposal.
So anytime an enhancement is to be added to Kubernetes, now it needs to have a CAP, which is a structured document defined by SIG architecture that's essentially defines the why, how, has a series of fixed fields like graduation criteria, production ready review, testing, etc. So any enhancement that wants to advance needs to have a CAP. And there's a CAP reading club, yes, which is part of SIG architecture. I attended a couple of times, and it's interesting because essentially it picks up some CAPs, and it's a joint effort in taking a read, which is very useful for people who never saw a CAP before.
They only
even
do it for like SIG arc related CAPs then?
You'll have to wait for the full interview, Kazan.
Okay.
That or join my Patreon, in which I can give you early access.
All right, we know who our first interviewee is going to be, huh?
No, they choose CAPs from all over. No, there's no, and that's one of the questions. What is the choice process, etc. So. And it's, I think it's interesting because the CAP is such a fundamental part of the Kubernetes release process that it's interesting in a way to make contributors aware of what it is, and then discuss, did I understand this correctly? What is this aiming at? Going into the, why is this enhancement actually even needed in terms of Kubernetes? I found it interesting. So I've added it there. And the rest are your usual suspects in terms of the SIGs. There's also another one that I want to add. Yeah, that's there. The book reading club, which is from Carlos Santana, and that's another one which I think it's interesting to cover. Not specifically a SIG, but certainly something related with contributions.
I knew that the book reading club existed, but it had never occurred to me that we should probably be doing things to help promote these groups. So I'm
Yeah.
excited that you're looking into these. We should probably also try to work with them to like do regular tweets or whatever tweets end up being
Yeah,
about their meetings and things like that. Cool.
I'm also
true,
curious,
true.
So
I wonder if they know about us.
Questionable. We'll see. I guess through
Well,
Frederico
some
now.
of them now know because I've asked them.
Yeah.
So at least
Yeah.
that. But yeah, but you're absolutely right. Maybe they do not know about us, and
pretty
I think
common.
it's mostly
We haven't done a lot of internal.
but it's mostly on
promotion.
us to go there, right? And the more they
Yeah.
know us, the better.
it's
And
like
you were
a
saying
weekly
something?
thing they do, or it's how is the cadence of it? So it's like weekly they do this kept reading meeting, or
It
it's
is. I think it's either once, twice or per month, or bi-weekly or something like that. I don't have it
And
in my
and the
calendar right
invitation
now,
is
but
part
yeah.
of the. It should be in the calendar, right? I mean, I'm also curious too because I never heard about it, so I was curious to understand how the proposal go into like a feature or like in the release. So it still puzzles me how actually they pick the features or the release process happens and what's going. So this I still I don't get it. Just want to
Yeah,
understand.
no, that is documented as well. But it's very much related with the cap part. But then the SIG leads decides if they want there, and then people that are part of the release team, typically enhancement team, go into which one that the SIG said that they want to be there and check if they comply with the formal requirements. Which one of them is? Do they have a cap? Is the cap up to date? Are all the cap fields properly filled, etc.?
Okay.
But yeah, and that is a good one, a better and more explanation of the release process. Certainly something that we could have with the SIG release spotlight.
Yeah, that's what. So that could be a part of the SIG release spotlight. Yeah, nice. Maybe
I
can
had a
think
dream of creating a release process blog post that I never actually got around to. So maybe it's something we should pick back up.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Frederico, for all of your work on reviving the board and making it better.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people can actually interact with it right now because I just created very directly. But anyway, it's perfectly possible to change the settings in a YAML file and add more editors and people to change it. So that's the next step. Also, see who needs and when to do it and when, and just try to define a bit of a IAM approach to it.
Yeah, sounds like good progress. With that, I think we should probably move into our table since we have 20 minutes left. Does that sound good to folks? Any other new items, updates, big wins that folks want to go over before we dive into the table? Okay. So the table is a massive thing of the way that we've been tracking, at least lately, ongoing work. So let's see if we can quickly run through these. It's rather long, so it can be kind of challenging. The first item is some work that we were doing to try to make sure that we are aware of GitHub issues and PRs that we should be aware of. We had updated our template to @ our team on GitHub, but we were looking into more that we could do there. Imran, I think you're the only one here who has any stake in that.
Yeah.
You've been working on that at all? You have so many other things.
I haven't directly, I haven't touched that part, but I think Atharva also, once we finalize the Zapier thingy, so then we can prioritize this and take on it. Yeah. So that's
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so
the Zapier stuff is.
I think that's maybe the crucial part to finish off maybe in the upcoming weeks or probably in months. Yeah.
Cool. Check in on it again some other time. Next item, Frederico, you wanted to make some updates to the blogging process. It sounds like that'll kind of go hand in hand as you're developing the board. All right. Cool. And the board is restarted. Granted, I think
Yeah.
there's still more setup that we'll be doing with it. But awesome. Thank you for the walkthrough of it. I'm excited about that. We'll have to, so many fun, exciting things to work that into. I already mentioned KubeCon EU tweets. I need to do that. That is my responsibility. As the social media lead, if anybody wants to shadow for social media work, let me know. Like I said, I know that the contributor summit folks are already starting to set up tweets, as you can see here. That's awesome. Nice. And then the main part of the tweet work that we usually do for KubeCons is session reminders for the sessions going on in the maintainer track, since those are particularly relevant to contributors. I usually use the color coding to indicate days, which they don't seem to have maintained here, or probably didn't know about. So I'll probably reorganize that a little bit later. Anyway, so hopefully in a future meeting, we'll talk more, and hopefully in the Slack, we'll talk more about getting all that stuff up to date before April. Next item, updating the upstream contributor comms GitHub team. I don't know that we actually did that yet. Me and Chris had a couple of meetings beforehand. Did we do a PR to update this one? Actually, I think maybe we did. I'll check with Chris.
I remember
on
I
that.
got added recently, and you guys are saying that, like, I think it was like at the beginning of the year, you guys were saying that, oh, you met up and you did some stuff, but that might not be
I don't think that we added you into our list yet. So
Oh, never
we
mind.
at least need to update it with that. You might have gotten added to something, but not this.
Okay, got it.
Because there are many things. So I'm going to take a note that we do need to add you, because if I don't write it down physically, I will forget. Even if I do write it down physically, I will probably forget. But add Mark to team. Excellent. Thank you for reminding me of that. This is the portion of that is our GitHub team. So this is what we're trying to notify when there are issues and PRs that should have our attention. Aside from the reviewers and approvers stuff that we've been updating in the owners files. So we've been updating who has approver permissions on various repos and who should get pinged directly to review things. This is more of like we want folks to have an FYI of this thing exists. That's the idea of how we want to use that team. Currently, we basically don't use it. So that is a good note. I'm just going to leave that as it is and move on. Imran, what did we end up deciding would be your priorities?
So priority is to fix the Zapier stuff. So that's I think
Zapier.
Last week, I think we have it in the updates somewhere in the last week. So
yeah, we should update the table to reflect
exactly
that better.
So
maybe we should actually start using a board.
Yeah, maybe. That's maybe also a good idea. So this I decided to wait until Zapier stuff is finalized, so that because Atharva was doing something till last week, and I was helping him with taking the old source code and looking at the features, what it actually does, and I wrote some more user requirements, let's say, or how to use the new way of workflow. So hopefully in maybe next week's I'll work. This week I was busy with the Spotlight stuff. I couldn't do anything except fixing the comments.
No worries. It's amazing that you got that done. So fantastic. And the Zapier work, is that the work we were doing to try to connect GitHub to Buffer?
Yeah. So
we'll
completely bypass the existing way of using our custom source code and connect Zapier via GitHub actions, trigger them, and also post to Buffer. So that's which
is now even more important. with the Twitter
exactly.
API thing.
It is, I think since last 3-4 months, it's getting more and more, this topic has been more, maybe it seems like important. So maybe this should be prioritized. Yeah.
I think Tarva may have put in that PR to update our documentation to make him co-lead of technical stuff. So I need to make sure
He
that I get
created
that.
he was added as a owner. He actually, I approved a PR, so he's added now. So
Okay.
that's
Awesome.
so that's fine.
I'll check on the repo though to make sure that he's updated everywhere he should be.
Okay, yeah. So.
Cool. So we'll move on past that item. We'll probably encounter the Zapier thing later if you want to talk more about it. Update repo with role descriptions. Chris and I did add in the sub-project lead one, and then we were doing other things, and we did get that merged. So I think we can pretty much remove this one for now and just I think I might put it at the bottom of the table as every now and then, if we get to that, a reminder that we should recheck what roles we have in our group and update them as needed. So I'm just going to kind of delete this stuff right now. I'm going to say good for now. And update that to the team. And I'll move it later because I don't want to do it right now. I always say that and then I don't. So we'll do this again next week. Next item, contributor site. This is also below Zapier, right? Imran? The contributor site work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So contributor side. I think this again, even though direct contribution from us is little because there has been a PR which it deploys the app. So yeah, so if anyone within us, like the newcomers, can have a look as well within this new contributor workshop stuff. So if everything is clear to them, then it's also a good review. So main part is like we review them, then provide a feedback how it's going. So I think from our side, I don't see any responsibility we hold to finish this task. So yeah.
Okay. The virtual new contributor workshop stuff has been such a thing. Hello, my cat has dragged her bed into my office. That's interesting. Moving on, SIG spotlights. We've already been over some of those in the board. So none of those are in active progress, right? But there are several that are waiting to be done. Is that the status, Frederico?
1 second.
All good.
Catch my Zoom client somewhere.
And I brought up the board. So the ones that we have in to do are the book reading club, SIG architecture, SIG networking, SIG APIs, machinery, and SIG node. Some of these don't have anyone assigned either. What were you saying?
No, exactly. So consider that these are ideas. They are not. There are plenty of more possibilities. I haven't added all SIGs that were not subject to a spotlight, but I added some just to get the ball rolling. So I would say that anyone wants to pick up one of them or another one, essentially the process is to, they can always talk to me and we can see how to proceed. But otherwise it would be like going there, creating a draft and assigning. I don't think this will work right now because of the permissions, but talk with me and it will get done.
Yeah. If you want to claim one of these, talk with Frederico. You're going to have to at some point anyway. My cat's destroying my office. Don't worry about that.
I'm avoid
for the well, I'll talk to Kaz and first with regard to podcast stuff. I don't know if we want to make
if we're going to start it up, then we'll want to do blog post, and we might want to have its
Okay.
own board, or we might want to use this one. This one seems like maybe we should have separate ones. I don't know. There's a lot to work out, so I think we'll
Yep.
kind of discuss it over time.
Okay.
But anyone who wants a good first issue to work on, talk with Frederica, claim one of these. All right, so we'll move on from that. That sounds good. Next item, we've been just kind of trying to keep an eye on the migration from Katacoda to GitHub Codespaces. I know that became more urgent recently because they had like a special instance for us to keep the Kubernetes stuff up and running in Katacoda, but they're going to spin that down faster than we thought they were going to. So this migration is continuing to occur is the last update I have on it. Anybody else have newer stuff on Katacoda to GitHub Codespaces? No? Cool. So we'll just keep an eye on that. We're trying to make sure that we know so that we can update the contributor community when it's there. Next item, we've got 9 minutes. Let's see what we can do. The validate command, this is prioritized. Yeah, it already says this is not prioritized right now.
Yeah, I mean, so the idea is to create an umbrella issue covering all these issues, and then maybe we can get off this redundant ones. So
we definitely do need an updated tracking method for our tasks. When we were a small group that was growing, it made a lot of sense to track them just like in our daily meeting notes and have them somewhere consistent where we could see them every time. But now we have actual prioritization of things.
Yeah, exactly. So we have too much
we didn't
activities.
have before, quite frankly. So maybe we do need to update our tooling. I'm going to add that as an update before I forget about it.
Can we, since we're using the GitHub boards, would that be a good place to kind of
quite possibly?
everything?
That's what we're considering. But also we have to consider, do we track like each area separately? Like we have the blogging board, and then would we have social
Each
media separate and
project,
text separate? Yeah. Or do we want to have one big one? Could we have multiple ones and then roll them up into one big one or something?
Sounds like we need to develop a whole new app, guys.
That's pretty much what happens every time we talk about this. We're like, if only GitHub did this and this and this, and then we don't use things.
But I would say that although I called it the blogging one, I would perhaps even prefer if we kept the status and the rest of things general
together
enough that can be applicable to most tasks that we do, because I do think that it's likely, for the amount of things that we have, it doesn't really make sense to split things into 3 different project boards. If we could have one, not necessarily with 20 different specific fields, but just with 3 or 4 covering pretty much every aspect of our work, I think it would be better, because I would like to, at a glimpse, have a look into what the technical part is doing, what they would see the blogging, etc. I think this builds common knowledge and context in a better way.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think we should start looking into it. I think that's our next big project, like the project roles that we all work on.
Unify all our table into a GitHub board, so it makes sense.
Yeah. I'm going to add a row below here. Deprecate this table by moving to a GitHub board, probably. GitHub has been making some improvements on their boards we were talking about, so maybe it's time. All right, back to whatever we were doing before. Here we are. There was a blog that Deba asked us to help push through like a year ago, and it's still open. I'm just gonna ping this like every week. I should ping Neha too. I think last time we were pinging was before the holidays, so nothing gets done then. Next item, keep track of SIG docs blog subproject process changes. Anybody here from SIG docs? Don't think so today, right? Yeah. So SIG docs was also updating their blog subproject process changes. And they were going to base them off of Frederico's because Frederico is awesome at defining how blogs should work. Like actually. Ray usually joins us every now and then, and he's part of SIG docs. So this was kind of an update with him. Federico? Did you have something you wanted to say?
No, not
Okay,
really. Just
cool.
saying that not necessarily because they are great, but because sometimes having something written, even if it's not ideal, it's still a step in the right direction, right?
Fair point. I think that counts as great though in this case. Much better than what we had before. Well, I mean, clearly the blog project thinks so. So they would be the ones to determine that. But anyway. And now we're getting into the items. The bottom ones are kind of things that are like on hold indefinitely, I think mostly. We don't always have it organized that way, but we try to. So security comms guidelines. Someday we would like to write a guide like for our repo with more strict security, more strict guidelines for communications about security issues. So we need to work with SIG Security on that. It was an idea that I threw by them at one point, like over a year ago. And they were like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. And here we are. It's not happened, but someday maybe it'll happen. Scheduling tweets for non-contributor comms members. This is basically actually the priority right now. Actually the priority. And it's mainly on Zapier. So we've kind of talked about that a bit. Anything else you want to add about that, Imran, that we haven't already said about the Zapier scheduling stuff? Probably not. Cool. Already talked about that a good amount. Chris had some notes about administration tasks that he wanted to move. I think he did move that. I'll check with him on that. Let me write that down before I forget. Check with Chris. I shouldn't do that today, though. We'll just do it next week. Chris has other stuff going on today. Contributor podcast. Love that idea. Contributor comms gold stars for achievements. This was a pie in the sky idea that maybe we'll do someday. And let's deprecate the table. Love it. And we're done 2 minutes early. One of the
Yay.
best ones. Yeah.
in the
Any
swing of
other
things.
items? What was that?
Back in the swing of things.
Yeah. Impressive. Any other items that folks want to discuss before I end the recording? If not, then I'll go ahead and end the recording. Folks can hang out for another minute or two to just chat off the record if they want to, but see y'all on YouTube next time. Bye.